Hi everybody, I'll try to make this video quick. I thought this would be the easiest way for me to convey my data here because I feel like there's quite a bit of things I need to explain. So the test I was looking at, I collected data from the fall and the spring, so all the students this year that have taken the Mechanical Foundations test in my robotics class. That came out to be 52 students. After doing this, I realized that I probably should have just picked like one class, but this data will be useful for me in the future. I broke down that sample into 13 ninth graders, 14 10th graders, 16 11th graders, and 9 12th graders. 5 of those students have IEPs, and 2 students had GIEPs, so they were considered gifted. Our robotics class is a science elective. Any student has the ability to take it. They don't need any robotics experience. So I see, right, older, high-level students, younger, low-level students, and everything in between. It was a summative assessment on like our first 3 sections that we focus on in our course. It was a multiple choice Google form test. We initially chose Google form for this because we would be able to get data out of there pretty smoothly. We actually break the test down into 3 different grades of 15 each, and we throw them in the specific category in the grade book. Beforehand, students were given a study guide and a Kahoot to review. We played the Kahoot in class, and I also made the link available to them on our LMS page so that they could do it on their own. In the past, I've had, like in the fall, a lot of students use the Kahoot on their own time. I think I only had 2 students this semester who actually used the Kahoot on their own time. And our categories or topics for this were Intro to Robotics, Strength and Stability, and then Transmissions and Drivetrains. So here is some of the raw data I collected, and I'll show you a little bit more on the next slide. The average score across all 3 classes in both semesters was 34.3 out of 45 points. The median score was 38 out of 45. Our lowest score was 14 out of 45, and we had multiple students who got a 45 out of 45. When we look at the grade distribution, more students got scores in the 90s than any other score. Second highest was in the 80s, and it kind of worked its way down. If we break the test into its sections and see how students did on those individual sections, the average score for the Intro to Robotics was 11.43. For Strength and Stability, it was 12.06. And for Transmissions and Drivetrains, it was 10.11. The standard deviation of our total score, so out of the 45, was 9.12. So that's a pretty high standard deviation. You can kind of see on the bar graph here, we have a wide disparity of scores. It is nice to see that a lot of students do well. I can kind of explain the students that do very, very poorly. It's these students in the middle that I'd like to kind of address and change things on my end to see what I can do to help them out. One of the nice things about a Google form is that it does give some of this information for you. So it did tell me that numbers 37 and 44 were our most missed questions, so I showed them here. On number 37, only 22 out of the 52 students answered that one correctly. I know it says 37 here and 7 over here, but this was number 7 in the 3rd section of the test, so which would be number 37. So that's where we're looking at gear ratios here. My guess is students probably answered with the inverse of what the correct answer was. And then for number 44, only 25 out of 52 students got correct responses, so both of those below 50%. And down below here is number 14, which was like saying the last question in the 3rd section, so I'm going to call it number 44. And that's just talking about tangential speed. So we talked about in that course the difference between linear tangential speed and angular velocity. So must have been getting mixed up on that. So this is the edited spreadsheet of what Google Form pushes out. I had added these commands for the blocks to turn red if the score did not match the answer key score that I have here. Now I made sure to exclude this answer key from all the data I collected, but it does make it helpful for identifying where the wrong scores are. I also did use some of the tutorials from the YouTube video that was linked on our overview to kind of figure out how many students did miss each of the questions. So I did like a sum of how many blocks are red or not matching. I think I did not matching whatever the first block was up top. That took quite a bit of time. The good thing about the way I did this is it does kind of give you an idea of where my major weaknesses are in terms of student understanding of certain topics. Let me go back really quick. Well, sorry about that, some technical difficulties. One thing I kind of wonder, and I'm going to talk about this in my posts, is like students that were just completely, what's the word? Apathetic to the course and didn't really care at all. Would I be able to consider them outliers and disregard them from the data set? So you can see, I mean, there's a handful of students that got scored. I mean, almost the entire row for them is red. I did not completely ignore those students. Those students didn't have such a low academic level that they could not be successful in the class. They made choices most days to not be involved whatsoever. So I was wondering how that would look in terms of research and making it ethical or unethical in terms of interpreting the data. All right, so my analysis, I also did look back at the Kahoot, not just for this semester, but also in past semesters. And the students that did practice with the Kahoot had significantly higher scores. Like almost all of them had scores in the 40s. Both of the most missed questions came from the transmissions and drivetrains category. So that's probably something to look at in terms of where I need to focus some extra attention, which matches and probably contributes to the transmissions and drivetrains category having the lowest average score of the three that we had there. And then, like I said earlier, would any of these students be considered outliers? Would my GIEP students be considered outliers? Because this difficulty of this test is pretty far beneath their ability because this course is designed to have students of all abilities and ages be successful. All right. Looking forward to seeing everybody else's data. Have a good night.